wish that Daniel Andrews had actually said that he would rip up the contracts. We've been urging him for months to do that. In fact, the awful truth is he hasn't. What he has done is contracted out Labor policy to a court, where he said that if the Supreme Court decides that the contracts are invalid, like he continues to claim, then he'll stop the project. He will not answer the specific question about what happens after that. If the Supreme Court decides the contracts are valid, he will not answer the question. Will he go further and then legislate? If we don't get an answer here from Jane Garrett, then we'll have to keep advocating that if you want to vote against this project, you're going to have to vote for the Greens, you're going to have to vote for the Socialists, or Peter Allan here, or Ward, or Dino. But don't vote for Labor if you think the project is going to be stopped.
Questions?
Leader repeatedly and often has said we will not be building this project.
Well, that's no answer.
It's an absolutely clear answer. It's a clear answer. We're not proceeding with the project.
I'm sorry. And he really deserves a clearer, straighter answer. I know Jane says we won't be building it, but Daniel Andrews has been much more equivocal than that. And we do need real clarity that this will not be built. We need it from the leader. I need people whose house is going to be bulldozed. We need to look them in the eye. Jane, you need to look them in the eye. Daniel Andrews, you need to look them in the eye and say, we, under no circumstances, regardless of the court outcomes, will this be built.
The Greens will cancel the contract regardless of the outcome of the court case.
The planet sees a future with a lot less internal combustion engines. You know, exploding dinosaurs every time we drive anywhere. It's a bit redundant, don't you think? So I've actually got an electric ute that carries 300 kilos. I charge it during the day. It's a bicycle with 3 taps on it. I ride around. It's fantastic. We can all do things, as Ward was saying. We can all, you know, be the change that we want to see in the world. So yeah, Save the Planet, or Independent Dino, is another person who would definitely rip up the contracts instantly upon being in
there. From our perspective, exactly what Peter Allan said. Tony is a community hero who's taken this on, you know, selflessly to get this tunnel scrapped, because it is a dud tunnel. But unfortunately, when governments and big parties come into power and they have majority power, they tend to forget the promises that they've made. You only have to look at Tony Abbott, who stood in front of a billboard and wrote it that said there will be no new taxes under any circumstances, no cuts to the ABC, SBS, whatever it said. He's doing the opposite of it now. Unfortunately, the two major parties are quite similar. They promise the world, but then they don't deliver when they have the ultimate power, and that is why we need somebody in Parliament who reflects exactly the way you're thinking, your values, where you stand on these issues, to hold them to account if they go back, or inevitably when they go back on their word.
I can see everybody's passionate about this, but yeah, I can understand that contracts can be cancelled, but the question's going to be asked at what cost.
Thank you. Now,
indicated something about this, but I'd just like it to be very precise. Would a new Labor government immediately release the East-West Link business case? That's question number one. Question number two is, there are 2 sets of very nasty, undemocratic legislation that have helped usher East-West Link into existence, and they are the Summary Offences Amendment Act and the Major Transport Facilitation Amendment, and I'd just like to know if they would be repealed.
Given that we have been, I think, fighting to get the business case released through the tribunal for a considerable period of time, yes, I imagine we would be releasing the business case, absolutely. I understand, and I think the key issues, I think the Transport Act that you've referred to has really exposed major issues and major concerns, particularly the use of it, or failure, and I think that Matthew Guy's actually failed to follow his own act, which is extremely significant. Part of that, I'm sure there will be a review. Clearly there's a review, because we have been clearly extremely condemning of Matthew Guy's conduct. And part of that, I think it's important, is that the commitment around the establishment of Infrastructure Victoria, which is to create more transparency and independence around major project development and implementation. And I think that will deal and alleviate with a lot of these issues that have arisen over this particular major project, which even on its, even those who fervently want this would have to concede has been handled appallingly from go to woe. We've seen that Infrastructure Australia had as its #1 priority the Melbourne Metro Rail, and we need to get a body in Victoria which gives the public a lot more confidence about how these sorts of decisions are being arrived at, and that there is much more transparency and openness and accountability, including on business cases and on the traffic modelling and all those things that people need to analyse right out there in the public domain. These are public assets spent with public money being spent on them, and the public needs to own the decision.
Thank you. Just quickly add to that, we do need a body, an independent body called Infrastructure Victoria, that makes the call on what the key infrastructure priorities need to be. Because we can't trust governments of any sort to make rational, transparent decisions on this stuff. We've seen desal plants, we've seen tollways. We see it failed so many times. And it's no good just setting up Infrastructure Victoria and then ignoring it. You have to set it up and you have to give it the power to decide what those infrastructure priorities are going to be, and to make sure that there's transparency in the decision making.
So I just focus on the business case. It took me a while to work out, why do we need a business case to show that something we need or don't need, as the case may be, is a good idea or not. And just to explain to people, it's not because we need to make money out of our infrastructure. That's not the point. The point behind all of this is to enable us to compare a project, say the East-West Link, and the amount of benefit it will give the community, to another project, say Doncaster Rail. And just by comparing the business case, the amount of hypothetical dollars returned per dollar invested, it's a nice quick way to compare the benefit of, say, a rail link to a freeway. And that's why it's so important to make this transparent. And of course our trust in governments would be improved by this. It would also be improved if there was a cap set on political donations.
Thank you.